Now, as I was going by the apartment, people looked at me on the face like, "Oh, so you're the guy that's gonna save the day. So you're the guy that's gonna save the HP. Oh, so you." So they see hope on you. They
Yeah.
think you're some sort of superhero.
Hola, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching this live. If you guys join the live chat, I appreciate you guys interacting with me and the guest. If you guys are on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the new channel and help it out. Help the podcast out by wherever you listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcast, making sure you leave a 5-star review, hopefully, and get the podcast out to more people. And I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors that help support the podcast. If you guys are interested in the software that we use to help my business, you can go check out Jobber. If you guys follow the link in the description or go to getjobber.com/reliable HVACR, you will get a free trial and discount and see if it can help you out. I also want to thank VETO Pro Pack, best tool bags out in the market. You guys already know I'm a VETO person. I have a VETO setup for everything in my van. So if you guys want to check out the link in the description, you can go to their website, go see all the bags that they have, go check out my customer profile that's there, and show your support. And I want to thank our newest sponsor, Bosch. They are changing the game with their inverter heat pumps. Bosch IDS Lite 15-SEER system has it all, combining quality inverter technology and standard efficiency at an affordable price point. The outdoor unit is available in 24K, 36K, and 60K BTU capacity, and it can be paired with either a wall or ceiling air handler. Gives you plenty of installation options. The Bosch IDS Lite will be equipped with a low GWP R54B refrigerant by this fall. Visit boschhomecomfort.us to learn more. All right, on today's episode, we have Nicholas Ramirez. He's been in the field and then he's gone all the way to in the classroom teaching this trade, which I think is very admirable. So we'll talk about his journey, getting into the trade, doing his own thing, and then having the opportunity to give back and teach. And when I went to school, I actually had teachers that were out there running their own business, being in the field, and then they taught during the day or at night. And those were really cool because you got all the experience, the stories, along with the textbook in the classroom. So really cool to hear how he deals with actually being in the field and then going into the classroom and teaching. So without further ado, enjoy the episode. I've heard that from like the bigger states or the ones that have more going on, it's kind of harder to get permits and all that, because we get permits here and it's like one day to the next and we got a crane out there and everything. So we do a lot of change outs. No big deal.
Right. Well, the main concern and one of the biggest problems that happens here in New York City, it's parking.
Oh yeah.
if you live in New York, you have to kind of like prepare yourself to it, because you're gonna spend a quite little time looking for parking every morning and every night. So when it comes down to like cranes and you're doing big things on the street, there's a couple of things on the way, like permits and all that, to like get the crane there and start doing your thing. It takes a little while here in New York City to do it to the parking problem.
Yeah, I feel like
Sometimes.
that's a big issue because I always forget about that, because we do have a downtown area here that's like old school. Like you got to parallel park, you got to do all that, but like that's kind of like how you guys see it over there. I only see it in a little section here
Right here, it's
downtown.
everywhere.
That's just like this how the state is over there.
Yeah, but you know what? I still love it. It's freaking amazing. It's still
So
love it.
like when you guys, if you guys do commercial, I understand, because you gotta find parking, and then
Mm.
you gotta get all your stuff down the street to a building and then wherever you're gonna work at.
Right. So think about it this way: if you're working in the city, like some prestigious, richest, expensive area, you could still park on the street. But the thing is, there's a 2 meter hour parking that you have to pay. So most likely you end up paying by day around $80 to $90 and parking every day. If you let's say if you pay 2 hours, if you miss a minute just to put another 2 hours, there's a small tiny chance that you get a ticket for it.
Yeah, I've had that happen when I like I said, we have a downtown, and we actually did work there, and it was always a pain in the ass unless we got there super early to get parking.
Right. So last year we did a project, and believe it or not, it came out to be cheaper for me hire somebody to stay in the car than pay all the tickets every week. It was cheaper. It came out to be
Yeah,
cheaper.
yeah,
You know,
you gotta find ways to get it done.
you gotta find a way out.
Yeah,
No, it's
we
crazy.
mostly do commercial, so like we're talking about the whole 24/7 thing off air, but like it's funny. I still see some vans that advertise that they put on the van like 24/7. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So
Nah.
we've had some that because like we used to have like IHOP and Denny's, right? They were open.
Okay.
I think they're still open 24 hours. I don't know,
Some of
but
them, yeah.
those were that was like one of our first or some of our first big customers, and I was always tired. It was always late at night. They needed something, weird times after hours, and they wanted it done like now, right? And
Hmm.
they're open. That's when they get busy. They get busy at night and stuff. They want that stuff worked on. And we don't do those anymore. I've been lucky and spoiled that we do fast food chains that don't do breakfast. So they open at like 10:30, and I'm like, cool. And get anything I need to
Nice.
get done in the morning, and then show up to work after 8, like 9, something like that. I don't have to be out there at 5 in the morning or whatever it is. Like we used to have one that was not open 24 hours, but they were open like at, I think they would open at 5 or 6. Like they were a breakfast place. And they were like, can you come in before we open? Like, they have a prep cooler down or something like that. I'm like, I'm not going at 4 in the morning or I'm not working overnight. Like we've done that before. Like sometimes you have to, but I don't want
Mhm.
to.
It's well, here it's an issue because of like sanitation and food. If it let's say the restaurant is open, for some places you're not allowed to work. You're not allowed to go in and do the work because
Oh
of
yeah.
some of the stuff, like the maintenance things that we used to clean the coil and all that might drop on the food. So if there's people in the place, you're not allowed to do anything unless everybody's gone.
See, like I don't think a lot of people understand that because I only do kitchen refrigeration, right? So sometimes I have to make a trip back another day because they already opened or they already started their lunch rush, and everybody's always like, "Oh, you should have done it, when you were there and this and that." Like people that watch my content, whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I had to like one I remember vividly was I had to run thermostat wire through a drop ceiling.
yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna be moving drop ceilings, I mean ceiling tiles around while they're making food right underneath me because I had to run it over the kitchen. I was like, I'll wait. I'll tell them I'll come back in the morning and have to deal with it that way. It's like a good and a bad thing. Like sometimes I don't want to be there. I can't stand being in one place all day, so I don't mind coming back another day and then going to do other calls or whatever it is. But that's always something I have to keep in mind is like they're making food or they're about to get busy. I can't be in their way. I've been in kitchens plenty of times on the floor rolling around, and then you got people stepping over you, and you're trying to work on a cooler or whatever it is because we do hot side too. The fryers and the stoves and everything, and it's like
Or
you're in those super narrow kitchens, and you only have so much space, and then there's like 3 cooks trying to move back and forth cooking.
no
It's
way
it's
on earth that's gonna
it's
happen.
it's fun.
Well, no,
see
I know
see
what's
when
up.
I started, I was in my early 20s. I was all like I was okay with all this stuff. Like I already went through all that. Now I don't want to do that as much.
Well, I didn't really have a really good experience doing whatever you were describing before. Working at the same time that the kitchen's open, it might get risky. Why? At that time, it happened in 2018, I believe. Uh, Somebody that it was working with me, they the guy had like a motor on their hands, and the floor kitchen sometimes is you can't really walk because of the grays and everything, and it's sleepy. Like
Oh
you
yeah,
can just fall
yeah.
off all of the sudden. So the guy,
Especially if they don't have mats. Some places do have the
oh,
mats, but like without it, no. And then
mm,
they curve and everything because they got the floor drains. Yeah, I've been through
horrible. But
that.
it's still amazing. But so I was saying, right? So this guy was grabbing the motor. I was on the ladder. He was walking towards me. He was gonna pass it over to me, and on his way to get there, like I said, he stepped in something that it wasn't supposed to be there. And it was like 3 inches away from my hand, and then the guy, he followed from behind, and then he
Oh
he hurt
man.
his neck. He ended up suing the restaurant, the company. He ended it had a big thing. So ever since that, I believe, yeah, I think I remember they said no more kitchen stuff. We're out of there. Like we had a bad experience with that, so they
Oh, so
stopped
the
by.
company just stopped doing kitchen work.
Yeah, because of it. It,
Okay.
it it was like a thing that it was like that type of accidents that you were like, this almost happened, but it didn't.
This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free. Hey man, this trade, especially HVAC, like it's not easy. I always think about that too when I have somebody with me. I'm like, please be careful coming up this ladder. Or I have some sketchy ones. I have one that I got. The only access I have to the roof is through the back of the building because they have that that huge, I forgot what you call it, that huge little wall that surrounds the top when you're on the
Right.
roof. And there's signs and everything. Like I can't put my ladder there, so I have to go through the back. And they decided to put like a carport all along the back side of the wall. So I got to get
Wow.
a ladder on the carport. The carport is super flimsy, and I got to put a ladder from the carport to the roof to get on the roof. And with that one, I'm always like, if I have somebody with me, I'm like, please stay at the bottom. I'll go up there. I'll do it. I don't want to risk you falling off or anything like that. Because I one time I did with that one, I didn't. I don't remember if I tied it or if I didn't tie it good enough. The ladder going up, and I was about to get on the roof, and like it started slipping, right? And I had to kind of,
Mm.
I was already putting a foot up there. I kind of had to hop on, and then I was like, shit, okay. And I'm pretty sure I did tie it. Maybe I just didn't tie it well enough because I think the ladder did fall, and I was able to pick it up with the rope because I had it like roped or something.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, okay, from now on, I'm gonna like make sure I double check that it's like sturdy, right?
Jeez, man. Wow. I feel like one of the most beautiful things about this trade is just the fact that every day you don't know what risk you're gonna take. Walking in an inch of the building, trying to get to the compressor and everything. It's just like you said, it's fun.
You
It's
you always
just
yeah, because I forgot what I was talking about with somebody, and I'm like, or I think I was answering questions with one of the sponsors I have, and like it's fun. There's a few things that make it fun. It's the work that you see, but it's also like being creative and kind of thinking on your feet and how solving problems and all that. So not only like for the equipment you're working on, but like how are you gonna do it? I always think about like what tools do I need, and how am I gonna get in this spot? You always got these weird spots that you got to get into, especially like refrigeration stuff. I,
mm,
I've seen I've seen some weird places that they put these coolers and walk-in boxes, and then it's like, okay, I'm getting up there, I'm getting into this, I'm getting into that, and You always see something new. I've been doing it 17 years. So like I started in my early 20s. After high school, I took a year off because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I got into what I do now.
Wow, we kind of had the same path. I graduated from high school too, and I work in like caterings, restaurants, warehouses, moving boxes and everything. But it wasn't until 2016, by the time I was 16 years old. Yeah, yeah, I was 16 years old when I joined the HVAC in 2016, and it all started from there. And I've been doing it for, yeah, almost 9 to 10 years.
Yeah, like I only had after high school, I only had one job. I was at a Sam's Club. That's a grocery store. I don't know if you know Sam's Club.
Heard of it? Yeah.
And man, they treated me like crap there. I ran the grocery department, right? And the two older guys that were there, they always ended up needing them for something else, and I was always left by myself, right? Running the grocery section, trying to restock it, trying to because there you have to. It's all like it's a lot of people that shop for themselves, but like it's a lot of like little businesses that go because it's like you buy the stuff in bulk and all that, right? So like it, and we live by the border, so a ton of people from Mexico come over, right? And all these little stands and stuff that they have too, and they come and buy stuff and take it with them, whatever it is. Like it would get packed, and I would get overwhelmed because they would ask me like where stuff is, and I'm trying to make sure that my stuff is stocked. Then we got to take out our own trash. Like it was a lot of running around for one guy. Every time they did my evaluation or whatever it's called, they never gave me my raise because they said I wasn't doing enough, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So I was very upset. And like when my dad started his business, I felt so good to go up to their office and be like, I'm leaving. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go work for my dad. And
I'm
they're
out of
like,
here.
yeah, I'm out of here. And they're like, no, like, come on, man. Are you sure? And I'm like, fuck this. I'm leaving.
That's one of the things that made me stay in the HVAC. The fact that you learn something new every day. I'm not saying these type of jobs are bad, because we all have to start. We all have a process that deserve respect and everything. But one of the coolest things about this job it's that I spent like I said like a year doing a couple things, and
Mm-hmm.
on my first month as helper, not even tech or installer, as helper,
Yeah.
and my first month I learned so many things.
Well,
Here I
like
just
the
found.
thing with me is like it took me a while, but like I didn't know how to use power tools. I wasn't mechanically inclined or anything like that when I started. It was like my dad doing it, and I went to go help him out too. Like I learned all that, and now I do projects around the house. I've worked on my own car. Like I do all this stuff now because I like doing it, and it was because I tried out, the trades, and that's how I learned.
Well, funny thing, my dad. Well, he didn't really tutor me into the field, but let me just explain that part real quick. So I came to the U.S. back in 2015, and before that, well, I lived with my parents and everything. My
But
dad
from
was a
where at?
truck driver. Huh?
From where?
Bogota, Colombia.
Colombia. Awesome.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So my dad was a truck driver, and he used to be the mechanic as well. So he kind of showed me how to use wrenches, screwdrivers, thinking logically to get the job done and all that.
My grandpa
So
was a mechanic,
yes,
and
so
he
that
he
that
learned
kind of.
he taught all his kids and stuff. And I didn't pick it up like them, but I was around it a lot in the shops.
Yeah, you kind of have an idea how the car works, but you're not really an expert.
Yeah.
But the fact that you develop skills with tools, and mechanically you become good at something. I came when I was literally a kid, and when I moved to the US, I was looking for a pad and everything, and that the HVAC gave me the vision, the path that I was looking for. Because like I said, it only took me a month, and it was winter time, worst time to work outside. It was like for somebody that it was new, they would have headed right the next day because it was cold. You didn't know anything, long hours outside, whatever. But I just loved it. The fact that you learn something new every day and gives you value as man. It's one of the reasons why I'm still here. It's
Uh,
it's it's
have
crazy.
did you start there in New York?
Yeah. I started here in New York doing residential. I didn't know what to do with my life at that moment, right?
Yeah,
So when I started, like, grabbing tools and everything, it kind of gave me the feeling to like dip more into knowledge. So I went to like, I took like electricity classes, plumbing classes, thing to like wrap yourself into it. But I could definitely tell you that when I started, I believe you clearly said it earlier. Didn't have any idea how an AC works, or
yeah,
just the name of some of the tools and all that. So I kind of started from zero, and it's been a while ever
yeah. When
since.
I started, but I guess I eased into it because I was good with computers and all that kind of stuff, and I used to sketch when I was little. Like all that came into play because when my dad started his business, he needed logos and business cards and like helping him out on that side. I didn't like go in the field right away. And then I started like tagging along with him on the weekends, early mornings with the pickup truck he bought, to get his business started and all that. And I was just helping him out. I didn't think about it too much. I'm just handing him parts or handing him tools or whatever it was. And then
Right.
later, him and well, my parents wanted or thought of me going to like an HVAC school to learn that side because my dad doesn't do that. He only does the cooking equipment. And
Okay.
like I said, I eased into it. I kind of liked it. I liked where we were working at. We were doing like hospitals and pretty good restaurants here and there. And then I got into school, and I learned a lot at mine, so it went well for me. And then when I went out, I was pretty confident that I knew quite a bit. You still make mistakes. You still learn the hard way, and that's
Hmm.
honestly the only way you're gonna learn because I've
Right.
done so many bad calls when I started, and then like you learn from it, and then you get better. Because going to school, I think I thought I knew more than I actually did, and it helped me with like knowing superheat, subcool, how to get my gauges on, how to kind of the just the little things, and then like from there
Right.
you got to figure out because once you get out in the field, it could be anything, right? It's like it's not always like this problem or this solution. You're gonna get there and it's gonna be like I've had some real like lately I've had a lot of like weird calls and it's like I don't know how to explain it to like a helper. It's just like I already know from experience to do this kind of stuff, and I got stuck on a couple of them also. So like you never know what you're gonna see like when you get in the field versus like the stuff you see like in a class or something.
Well, I can frankly tell you what a trade school did for me. Last year, I got a job offer to work as it was a trade school, but they have like they four different levels for each trade, right? They needed a teacher for a level one HVAC, and basically they hired me to like honestly just show the basics, how to brace, how to wire something, a thermostat, low voltage, communication systems and all that, like the basic of it, how to install a wall mount unit, how to the vacuum recovery, the basic of everything. And most people that I met on the path, students and everything, they told me the same thing. School for them, it kind of showed them what it was gonna look like in the field. It gives you an idea. So I feel like it's worth it. Take the shot, go to school, and at
Yeah.
least take a taste of it. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, out of 10 students, two joined in the field. The other eight were still lost. They just went there because they thought it was gonna work out, but it
Yeah.
didn't. They probably went to another class or something. But you always get people out of it because this thing this thing doesn't stop. You always need people in the field. Always. Weather doesn't wait for you to pick up the phone. It's
No.
just if it's hot, it's hot. If it's cold, it's cold.
Yeah, it's funny because I went to school for it, so like we had a couple of like a lot of people did take it seriously, and I have seen some people I went to school with like in the supply houses and stuff, and it's cool to see them out there. And
Yeah.
but we had those like class clown type people. I think even like a couple of them got they got the teacher so upset that they just sent them home, and like that was it. They weren't gonna allow them back in the classroom. So
Wow.
some kids do get into it and they don't know if they want to do it or not. And if you just take it in, learn it, and kind of take it serious, like you said, and I've told people the same thing. These skills can help you in like so many ways because you're not. It's kind of funny, like even going to school for HVAC, you're gonna learn. Because I had an electricity class, I had a like you said, we learned brazing, so you get to learn how to solder and stuff. We had a residential class, a commercial class. We had, so many different, even the duct design. I don't even use that, but I know how to kind of do it. I would have to remember a little bit of it because I kind of forgot, but like I knew all my basics, and there were so many like subjects that I took that it set me up to be in the field and stuff. Today's episode is also brought to you by NAVIEN. If you haven't seen it yet, NAVIEN has entered the HVAC space in a big way with the new NPF hydro furnace. This hydronic forced air furnace delivers industry-leading variable capacity operation from 15 to 100% in both natural and propane configurations. You can learn more at navieninc.com. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. I will say though, like it's kind of cool that you're doing that, and it's just even the basics, like that helps a lot of techs because I've even had people ask me in like the videos I do, which I'm gonna try and post more, but they're like, "Can you do a video on how to braze or how to this or how to that?" Because like a lot of them, I guess, learn on the job, and they're just there like figuring it out. They don't know exactly what they're doing. And even myself, I get a little bit. Maybe it's because I went to school for it. Like I have this pet peeve of seeing guys do things a certain way, and it kind of bothers me. So like the brazing is one thing. When I see their flame, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they don't have it set right, or they don't have it open right, and like they got this weird, little short flame or whatever it is, and I'm like, it's just kind of like it's almost like cringe, and I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
and then I mean, I'm not perfect either, but like I have a setting. I go by what it's supposed to be and all that. So that's just stuff that gets to me too.
Well, believe it or not, I had fights with other techs because I feel like each tech has its own way to set up the vacuum. Some of them put the hoses in another spots that they believe is right, or some of them believe is wrong. I feel like you're so like you and I, you have your own technique to make it happen. So whenever you see somebody else doing, the other way that you're supposed to be doing it, you kind of have this warm fuzzy feeling in your head saying, mm,
Yeah,
something's off here. Something's definitely off here.
yeah. I
But
mean,
it's still
I still take from other guys that I watch or that I know. Like they have good um, setups or techniques or whatever it is. So I'm still learning too. But yeah, like there are some things that I'm like, oh, that's not right, or that's not. I'm like, please, be better.
try your best next time.
Yeah. And I've been running
But
into
yeah,
that too lately because the whole thing when I do commercial, it's like sometimes there's multiple companies in there, and I'm like what was this other company thinking? Like I've seen some weird stuff. Like I'll go out there and it's like, yeah, they just worked on it. I'm like, what the hell were they doing?
it's a thing, man. It's a thing, and believe it or not, well, as I was saying, when I was preparing the students to like go out and conquer the world of the HVAC, some of them I really really noticed, and for some reason, I was at the moment I was like, but why do people keep asking the same thing? So all of the levels that I thought, like all the classes that I met, there's always a guy that always asks the same thing. he would he would have told me, in the beginning, before the whole semester started, I would like to ask people, hey, what brings you here? What made you
Mm.
go into, like, HVAC and all that? And then there's always a guy that says this argument that it still drives me crazy. So apparently somebody told them that 99% of the problems that you face on residential HVAC, it's just recharging gas most of the time. So as long as you learn that how to charge a system on a summertime, you'll set. You'll be set. You don't need
That
anything
is
else.
that is like
So
the last thing you check, but okay.
So I told the guy, I was like, you kind of want to keep in mind, I don't know, contactors, capacitors, shortcuts, low voltage, like transformers. Like, there's still a couple things on the way that you might be forgetting. He's like, nope. As long as I know how to charge it, I'm fine. And that only happened not until like the 7th or 8th week. So the guy had to come all the classes, and then
Mm.
the second I taught him how to charge refrigerant, never came back.
Dang.
Never came back. Never
No,
came
but
back.
like and I had an instance where that kind of, well, I mean, I was assuming everything was okay, but I went to it and I'm like, what's going on with my system and this and that. Like, I overlooked something. I had to go in the drop ceiling and I found that my return duct just fell apart. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is our issue. It's not like I was thinking it was like a refrigerant issue or something weird. And I was like, no, like, let me keep looking. And then, like, there it was. I wasted time on the roof checking if the coil was clean and if this other stuff was working. And I'm like, let me go in the let me go in the attic real quick.
That's one of the craziest thing about service, and it's sometimes frustrating as well, because you kind of have an idea of like what the problem could be, and you just dip into it so much that the second you figure that wasn't the issue, you kind of get mad. Be like, I thought this was the problem, man.
I know. I had that moment recently, and it's happened. It's always gonna happen. Like, nobody's perfect. Doing that for 8 years and then going into teaching, I've actually seen people, because like when I went to school, there was a few guys that were like super smart dudes, and this and that, and then like the rest of us, were more with the hands-on stuff. But these guys were really smart. They actually went back. I don't know if it was like a year later or something like that to
Right.
to teach, because I mean, they probably offered them that job because they stood out as students or something. But I've seen that before, where guys graduate and they go back and teach at the trade school.
Uh, right. So what happened to me? It's like most of the experience that most of the knowledge, most of the knowledge that I've been getting through the years, it's all based on the same philosophy of just, you know, don't even read the book, just throw yourself in there, apply knowledge to it, and do it with your hands. So it's not like I at the time when I got the job offer to be a teacher, I was like, all right, let me just go over something real quick. I know how to fix the problem, it's just that I don't know how to explain it. you know
That's how
you
I
need
am.
you need because I don't know, in the beginning, well, before I got into like the whole teacher thing, I had the same feeling. I was like, it's just, I know how to solve it, but I just know how to explain it, and you
Dude,
you
that
need
that
to
was I'm sorry, but that was me, because my dad would always be like, "Okay, like explain to me what happened or this and that." Like when I had started, and I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I don't know how to explain it. I was like, I was just good at fixing stuff, and that's honestly how I was. And it's like I don't know how to explain it, or like when I'm with a helper, I'm like, I'll explain it later. I can't tell you what I'm doing right now. Like I don't even know. I
Right.
honestly didn't know what I was doing. More, even to explain it, and then I'm like, I don't know, just trust me, I know it's gonna work and this and that. And then like I've had that issue with my dad. He would ask me like questions and stuff, and then after a while he's like, okay, I trust you, just do your thing.
Do your thing, do your thing. Because I don't know, I feel like when you kind of have that path, when you learn, when you just don't go to school, you learn and to feel everything, you just kind of have a hard time getting like the actual names of things. You stop calling, oh, like the black little thing that you put on the top. Yeah, that has a name. It's called contactor. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Oh. So you kind of start getting into names, reputation, books and everything. And it took me. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a while. I would say 4 to 5 weeks to learn that skill, to learn how to explain it to somebody and learn and explain as well how to fix it. And like you said, we still make mistakes, but it's the fact that you're teaching something that's worth it that keeps the flame alive inside of you, you know? Because like you said earlier, if you're doing HVAC, you kind of have to know a little bit of everything just to keep the title of HVAC tech or installer or whatever the case is. We deal with everything. And if you do HVAC, you'll be able to fix things at your house for free. You
I
know, you'll
know.
be able to like
As much as I hate the whole DIY thing that's been going on with the HVAC stuff, like, there's channels that just cover like how to do your own HVAC. I mean, some of that stuff
yeah.
is dangerous. So that's my only issue is like some of the stuff is dumb, some of the stuff is dangerous. Uh, but on the flip side, I try not to call too many people out like when I need stuff done too, because like I said, I have projects around the house that I do myself. I'll work on my own car. I do my own oil changes, all that kind of stuff. But like I tell people, like I'm gonna work on my car to a certain point. I can't like rebuild an engine. I can't do all this,
Right.
heavy stuff. Like I can change my own oil. I can check my own refrigerant. I can do like all the little things. Check the brakes. That I've changed out brakes. Like I can do all the little things.
Small
After
things. Yeah, yeah.
after a certain point, you need a professional, and that's the same thing with the HVAC. Like you can change your filter. You can go in the attic and check a few things, but call a professional when you need it. So I see it both ways.
Well, one of the things that I noticed during my path, it's that if when it comes down to an electrical problem, there is a 90% chance you might be able to find the solution on the internet, right? When it comes down to plumbing,
Oh,
toilet got stuck, sink got stuck, there's a still 90% chance that you might be able to find a solution on a video. But when it comes down to like vacuum recovery, and you don't really find something really specific that tells, like you said, a lot of guys go out there, they take the vacuum and be like, so this is what it's for, all right? Just keep that in mind, and boom, they leave it. They don't even take the time to like explain the parts and everything, and they're just throwing out the wrong information, you know?
yeah, because well, there's what is it like, Mr. Cool? Like that's like they target homeowners like, oh, you can do it yourself. But does a homeowner have a vacuum? Does they have all the right equipment for it? No, right? And I had an argument one time in my comments with a guy that's like, oh, I can do it myself and this and that, and then like he was one of the ones that actually like responded. So we had a whole conversation in the comments. But at
Mm,
the end of it, because I always want to know like more. So I'm like asking him like, how did you do it, or how did you do this or whatever. Like I wasn't trying to like go after him or like get in a fight or anything. And then like, and eventually he's like, oh, my dad or his buddy or I don't know who it was lent me some gauges, a vacuum. Like somebody lent him all the equipment. I'm like, okay, don't just say that any homeowner can do it, right? Like you need the equipment. So you did it the right
right.
way. Congrats. That's good on you. But most people don't have a vacuum, don't have any of that. And then like
Mm.
later down the line, you got moisture in the system or you have air in the system, and that's always going to be. Those are the tricky ones to diagnose too, right? Because like when I started, I didn't know about that stuff, and I'm like, why is my system doing this, or why isn't it cooling? Why does it work, but it feels ugly in the house? There's all these weird things where it's like it's working, but it's not working the way it's supposed to. And then like you have those. That's where you need like a professional because only they're gonna know like, oh, this happened or that happened. Um, and yeah, I got lucky because I went to school and actually I had good teachers. So like it's cool
Okay.
like that you had your experience and you can tell them that stuff, right? Because the guys that I had teaching me, um, I was there when the older teachers were there. So like two of them owned a business on like they had a business and they taught there, and then the two other ones worked for that college. So they handled like the chillers and all that other stuff. So I had a lot of different experience from these teachers that they would come in and we would kind of start the class with like a conversation, right? And the business owners
Right.
would come in and tell us like jobs that they had the previous week or something, and then they would ask us like if we had any jobs going on, because some of us, would work on the side too. That's how I learned, and they gave us a bunch of experience, and that helped a lot. How difficult is it then, especially because you mentioned it was difficult for you to explain things? Like, how difficult is it, or how hard was it to get into teaching?
I applied the same concept for my job, my life, most likely my whole everything. I applied the same concept. It's you'll never know that how it's gonna look until you go and see yourself. So there's time. I learned that on the field. That you just get a call all of a sudden saying, "Hey, so I have this AC issue at this house, and can you just come and fix it?" Like those are things that pop out all of a sudden. It happened the same thing with the teaching. It popped all of a sudden. I went there. I didn't in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little scared because at the time I was 24 years old, and my first class I had four students, and the youngest one was 38 years old.
Yeah, I
So
when I went
it,
to school, even at the college, it was a community college. I was one of the younger ones. There wasn't too many 20-year-olds. There was a lot of older guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I face in the beginning it was hard explaining and all that because I didn't really feel comfortable doing it. The fact that they were older than me and they might have more experience than me, and the only reason why they were there is because they needed a certificate. Where
Yeah,
they were raking my balls, and at some point they were giving me a hard time because they wanted to test me. In the
yeah,
beginning, I'm not gonna lie. In the beginning, I had two guys, one in each semester. In the beginning, I always introduce myself. Hey, I'm Nick. I'm the teacher. We're gonna have such a great time. This, and that. And at the end, you just clarify yourself if there's any questions in the room or anything, so you can just answer these people what they think of you. And two of the guys asked me almost the same question. They looked at me in the eye. They were old. One of them was 45, the other was like 52. They were old. They looked at me in the eye and they'd say, "Do you really know what you're doing, kid? Or shall I just go to another class?" They told me straight up in my face that. I was like, if you stay the 8 weeks, that's what the semester lasts, you'll find out at the end, but you have to stay to figure it out. They look at me, we'll give it a shot. And then, believe it or not, at the end, we became such a good friends. Like, besides the student teacher relationship,
yeah.
we even handle jobs to each other now. So,
Okay.
it's just give it a shot. Give it a shot. You might be young, you may not have the experience, but as long as, you have the guts and the courage to step on the podium and be like, "I'm here. What's up?" Just let it roll
Well,
and
like,
make this thing happen.
yeah, I'll be honest. Like, even the stuff that I do now, the podcast, being up at the awards show, like, I would have never have done any of that before. Like, and it's like you said, you don't. I'm super like. I mean, I'm carefree. I'm laid back. All that stuff, and um, I am an introvert. I do get nervous and stuff like that. But like the way I've always lived my life, whether it's work related or personal, is like you said, you don't know until you get there, right? Like I'm always like, why am I gonna worry about it? Why am I gonna stay up all night worrying about it, this and that? Like I'll deal with it when I get there. I've always been that way, and it's just the way that I get through things. Because like you don't want to spend your life, worrying about different things. So, um, my girlfriend actually was asking me because she's a teacher. She teaches like high school and stuff, and
Okay.
I guess because of all the stuff that I'm doing, she's like, "Why don't you be a teacher for this too?" And I'm like, I don't know. But the older I get, the more I do enjoy like talking about it. So maybe at one point we'll get there. Because, like I said, I saw it at my school. Like it's a full college now, but like some of the ex
Right.
students have gone to go teach and stuff.
When I joined the HVAC back in time, I thought like the world of the HVAC was surrounded by service, installs, and maintenance. But when I got the job offer of teaching the class, I was like, wait, hold the phone right there. So there's another industry in the same trade, which is teaching, learning, and education. So I was like, wait a minute, there's more of it. There's sales department, there's CEO department, there's like
Hmm.
units department, branch department. It's so many departments that you can look into it out of one trade. Now think of like electricity, plumbing. Like, not my point is, there's so many phases of it that if I were you, you know, lost in whoever it's lost in their past right now, just give it a shot to each one of them, because you might not be good installing or servicing, but you might be able good selling, or
Yeah.
just getting jobs, or getting, just try to give it a shot. There's so many things to try. You can't just focus on one, and there's a market for it too. I'll be honest with you. When I got into teaching, they kind of explained to me like the economics, like how does the whole thing operates, and you kind of want to start your own thing after you hear that. 'Cause it's worth education.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
worth it
Like
for you.
especially like good education because there's so many that get a bad rep because it's like a crash course and like people are like, I didn't learn anything or this and that, and they just took their money, right? Um, but like other places, like I got lucky with mine. Yours seems like a pretty good one too. Like you actually learn stuff because the teachers, are giving you as much information as they can. They're trying to give you experience that they've had, and I guess in a way that's kind of what I do with my stuff. It's like it's the stuff that I see at work. That's what's gonna help you. I mean, get books. Also, get whatever you can because I have my books. I after I went to school, I was still reading my books like for another year or so just to kind of grasp everything. And then I took my contractor's license, which was a whole thing. I can't even. I right now I would not be able to do that anymore. I don't like being in the books and stuff like that. But at the time, I took the effort and studied and did everything I could. And good education is not, from what I've talked to other people, it's not easy to find either. So like we do need more like people that are passionate. And I always go back to like, there's obviously the big ones like Craig Migliaccio, HVAC
Oh,
School, Brian Orr. My favorite is Ty Brenneman, right? Like those guys
okay.
are awesome. Those are the guys that I'm like, man, I wish I could be like them. Like the way they teach.
It's the fact that they know how to explain it really, really damn well. You understand these guys.
Well, yeah, they break it down pretty simple, and then Ty Brenneman, like his energy is just like it makes me watch the whole video.
Yeah, you don't want to skip a second of it. You
Yeah.
just kind of watch the whole thing. But what's it called? Um, you're right. You're right on the part that says finding a good education becomes really hard sometimes. It is. It is, and let me tell you why. When I was assigning my education program, I try to like, all right, let me just check, some other schools, the way they roll it, what things do they do to improve the trade and all that. And I was disappointed. To be honest with you, I was disappointed. I went to a couple of them, and you know what I noticed? Most of them, clearly don't really put a lot of effort when it comes down to give the information to them. Why? Because I remember this one. It was amazing. So I counted top of my head like 30 students, and there was only one teacher with only one motor on his hand explaining to 30 people the same thing.
Dang.
One of the things that I notice, it's from trade school, it's that people don't go there to like stick to the books and read it. People actually want to put their hands on the thing
Oh
and
yeah.
you know kind of oh, so this is what a motor looks like, instead of just having look at someone doing it. You don't really get a lot.
That was one of the things that I loved about my school was all the equipment they had, like all the
Mhm.
hands-on stuff. Like that's without that, I would not have been confident getting into the field after that because like I was able to do. We did pump downs, we did recovery, we did hooking up gauges, we did walk-in boxes, split systems, and I think window units. And we had to wire like they would just take all the wiring out and you have to wire it back in, like stuff like that. And I was like, this is awesome. This is like, actually stuff that I'll use in the field. Some schools, like you said, they either don't have enough hands on or they don't have, or it's like too many students to a teacher. I've heard all of that and it just sucks. Like we do need more or better
Yeah.
education for these kids because like a trade, I mean, that sets you up. And I tell people all the time, like, if you learn that skill, nobody can take that away from you, and that's gonna help you like for life. That'll feed you for life.
It's amazing how this thing can teach you something new every day, and also the fact that it gives you the ability to go to the next level too. Because like I said, most common jobs, they don't really give you the opportunity to like keep going up the scale. This thing does it. Like if you really learn it, you put yourself into it, you can even grow your own business and everything. Like it's something that allows you to work and develop yourself as personal, skills and all that.
Yeah,
It's
because
one of the
I
best
was
things.
very introverted. I did not talk to anybody when I was younger, and I had
Same
to
case, bro. Same case.
I had to get out there after we after I got in the trade. You know, you got to talk, at least in my line of work, managers, owners, a lot of people like in management and stuff like that, and then trying to bill and all this stuff. Like, I actually got complaints when I would go in and out and just do my job. They would that my dad would call me. They're like, "Did you go, here, this or this and that?" And they're like, that the managers would actually be like, he didn't tell us anything. He didn't explain anything. He didn't say hi. The basic stuff. And I'm like, well, like I was like super young at that time. I was like, I just went to do my job. I didn't know that was an issue, so I had to learn that part of it, right? Like you said, you get people skills. You get a bunch of other skills with the trade, and you can work your way up. Anybody honestly can run their own business, and we like when you start, you you earn your stripes. You have to go through all the bad work too, and then when you start your business, you do have to hustle, but you can choose your own work. So that comes back to, I only do kitchen refrigeration. I don't want to get into residential or anything like that.
Right.
And we have turned away work when it's like too much of a hassle. So like you can start your own thing, you can do your own thing, and you can choose the kind of work that you want to do, or you can take another career path. Like you said, it could be teaching, it could be selling, um, working at a wholesaler, distributor, whatever it is. Some guys are good at it. I had a friend growing up, in a good way. He was the best bullshitter. Like he could sell anything. Like and he worked at what were those, like the not Blockbuster but the other one, Hollywood. It was like a
um,
video store,
Radio
GameStop.
Shack, Radio
GameStop.
Shack. Oh, GameStop, GameStop.
Yeah, and he always was the one that sold the most of everything. Like he's like, I got bonuses. I did like, and I'm like, how the hell do you do that? Like some guys are just good at that, right? Like
Oh,
he wasn't like a scammer or anything. He just was good at talking and talking people into buying things. So I'm like, yeah, there's people like that, or there's jobs for people like that in our trade. There's a little bit of anything for anybody. You just have to get in the trade and kind of find it.
right, right. And like you said, it allows you to grow, and it allows you to, you know, put yourself as company. And I feel like that's like not the highest level, but as company, when you started like from the bottom, like the bottom of it, and you learn, you messed up on the way and everything, and when you get to the point when you have to create a company, it becomes harder and harder, because now it's not just it happened to me. I believe I mentioned, I wonder if I did, like a year and a half I started my own thing. I fought in the company that was working out, we had an issue, and I left. I started my own thing, and I was like, you know what? Now I'm gonna be able to find my own sketch. Now I'm gonna be able to find my own money. Now I'm gonna be able. Nah, all of that, take that away. Becomes harder. Why? Because now you have to be a salesperson. Now you have to be your own driver. You pick up your own garbage. You're your own secretary. Like it kind of start like throwing so many things at you, but it's amazing. It's amazing the way how this thing teach you things and put you out of the comfort zone,
Oh yeah.
just to be like, there's an option to keep growing. You want to stop, it's cool, but if you want to keep growing, you could go ahead and keep building things, or keep making things happen. But at the time, I'll be honest with you, I will never regret being in this field. It's so amazing. the way how it clicks on you sometimes, and that's one of the things that I love from this job. Let me just tell you a little bit of a story that happened to me like a week ago, actually. It was Friday. I had a call service at 7 p.m. I checked the GPS, and it was like 20 minutes away from me. I was, I'll give it a shot. It
Okay.
doesn't seem hard. When I got there, it was a 28 floor building. The super comes down to get me on the first floor, and then he kind of explained to me the problem on the way up to the floor. So we got into the elevator, we got out on the 10th floor, and he's just started looking at his phone. And I was like, hey man, what's the apartment that has the problem? He's like, no, it isn't just the apartment, the whole floor is down on AC. It was like 90 outside. I went. It was 18 units in total, from of the 10th floor. 18 units, and I went apartment by apartment, just checking, FPM, CFM, air temperature, whatever, the basic diagnostics that you run
Yeah.
to give a result. So I check everything before the fix and after the fix. Really cool trick. It gives you a better perspective of the job. Now, as I was going by the apartments, people looked at me on the face like, "Oh, so you're the guy that's gonna save the day. So you're the guy that's gonna save the HP. Oh, so they see hope on you. They
Yeah.
think you're some sort of superhero. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, over the whole apartments, I count like 7 babies, 20 elders, five to 8 kids. Everybody was just hoping for you to figure it out. It took me all night. I was out of there by 4 a.m. in the morning. But by Saturday morning, these people were fresh in AC. I got back down to check on the floor. They looked at me like I was God. I'm not gonna lie to you. They were like, dude, you saved the day. Like four texts came before you. They didn't have a clue what to do. You saved
Oh,
the day.
that's the
Now
best.
this is the guy. So that feeling, that click, that you know what I mean. That
Oh
that the
yeah.
feeling when they look at you and be like, you saved the day. No one else did. You did. So you're the guy. And then they have this really, really cool angle of you, like that guy is the best. That guy, it's gonna save the AC anytime we call them. The people they kind of start getting a better angle of you. That's one of the most beautiful things
Yeah.
about this job.
And I love
They
that.
they respect you. Yeah, I love that
I
too.
love that part. That's like the best part because when I started, like to one of your points earlier about being young and being a teacher, like I was young trying to get my license and be a contractor. I got it like right away as soon as I had the experience that was needed. I took the test, but I'm super young in a field of a bunch of older guys, right? Everybody looked at me like, "Who is this kid? He doesn't know anything," stuff like that. So I always try to be, the best that I could be as far as like being up to date on the stuff that I learned in the books, but also like getting out there and actually volunteering to do all the work. I want to learn how to do this. I want to do all the brazing. I want to do everything, right? And then I got pretty confident in my work. And I've had a couple of people that I could call, right, that would help me, but like, I mean, they can only help me so much, right? Like over the phone help is always, hit or miss. But
Yeah, yeah, hit
yeah,
or
it's
miss.
like one
Yeah.
of the hardest things because now I'm the one trying to take calls, like helping other guys out. But I learned everything in the field. I learned everything on my own. I made so many mistakes, and
Nice,
I was
nice.
just like, even if I screwed something up, I'm like, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'll get it going. I've had a lot of late nights, figuring out things. And if I ever screwed up or didn't fix something, like I would stay up all night looking up like the issue or the manual or whatever it was. So
Right.
like back to your point about like being the hero, being the one that goes out there, like I've had that. I still have it. I just had it recently. Somebody and they know that we're good. The places that we go to. Like the thing is, like there's different levels of management. So like upper management, that they're like area managers. They wanted
Yep.
to get like multiple bids on certain things. So like I've had other companies that come in and try to do the work that we do, and I still have to go behind them and kind of fix some stuff too. And the managers here, at least the store managers, are like, man, they only want Adrian, they only want my dad touching this stuff because like they fix it, and they even want us 6, 8 hours away at other stores because they trust us that much, right? And then it's
Mhm.
hard to find good techs, but um, I always tell people like when you get out there, just be confident. Don't be cocky because that's how you make mistakes. But
No,
be confident,
no.
and that's the best feeling. Being able to fix something that someone else couldn't fix, and a lot of times it's just I tell people the smallest effort will set you apart. Like it's as simple as that. Just do your basics and give a little effort, and you can be better than the other tech.
Well, I kind of I feel like it gets so much harder when they tell you, well, three guys came before you and none of them did anything, so give it a shot. And you were like, so three people came before me, man. This is gonna be easy. This isn't gonna be easy. Like I'm gonna have a hard time. But you
I
know,
I
it's
had one. I had one specifically that happened, and it was a Lennox RTU with all the boards and wiring and all that. Like it wasn't a Prodigy, but it was like similar. They ripped out all the wiring. They bypassed everything. There was wire nuts everywhere. That one took me a while because I had to sit there the whole day and figure out where all the wires went. Figure out what board was there was a bad board on it. Figure out what they were trying to do, and then like it took me all day, but I figured it out. That one almost, and I had several of those to do because they had like 4 RTUs that all had similar issues. And like I said, it took me a while, but that one almost, like I tell people, that one almost kicked my ass because I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'd never worked on a Linux before, but they all work the same. My dad has always told me that, like, put something in front of me and I'll be able to figure it out and fix it. And his thing is always like, if somebody, I guess, like, if a man made it or designed it, a man can fix it. That was like his thing recently. And I'm like,
right.
yeah, you're right. You know, just got to sit down and figure it out, you know?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. He's right. He's definitely right. You gotta give it a shot. I don't know if you do, but for me, it's ever since I started doing most service calls. When I started doing service calls, I kind of developed this feeling that when I can't fix it or wait, I can't find a part or I couldn't get the AC up and running, I feel so bad with myself. Like, what am I in the right path? You know, like, am I doing the right
Oh,
thing? How come they call someone that knows and
yeah.
that guy couldn't fix it? I feel terrible when it comes down to
Yeah.
that part.
I've had both. I had recently a mom and pop restaurant. I couldn't get the coil. I felt so bad, and they
Mhm.
weren't gonna buy a new unit. They were worried about the price for the coil, and I was like, I can't get it. I talked to, it was Rude or Reem, whichever one. I talked to them directly, and they were having issues getting these things out. So wasn't able to get that, and I felt bad telling them that. And I've always had that. Like since I started that feeling. I hate that feeling. And the other one was when somebody came behind me and actually fixed something. It was a cooler that
Okay.
that I condemned because like I was like, this compressor's giving out at some point because I got it going for like a couple days too. I was like, this
Okay.
compressor's giving out. Like it was overamping, overheating, no matter what I did, and the unit was kind of old. I was like, the fins are trash, everything. Somebody came in and said, no, it's repairable, and they fixed it. They did a few things to it. They ripped out some stuff. And then it died a week later. I mean, actually not. Like 2 days later, it died. Right?
Not even 2 days.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a few days. It was like 2 3 days, something like that. I felt like crap because he fixed it that day that I heard that or whatever, and I was there working on something else. I felt like crap. Same thing, like you said. Am I doing what am I doing? Am I even this good? Am I even this or that? Like I just have to for next time. I was like, for next time, this is a lesson learned, all that. And then I found out that it didn't even work, and he ended up replacing the whole damn system. I don't know if he gave him a discount or my dad was like they were probably too embarrassed to call us back, whatever it was. He ended up putting a whole new system like I had originally said or quoted, and I felt way better. I'm like, okay, I was right. I just stick to your basics, kind of trust yourself too, and like you said, if you can't fix it, be honest with the customer. Sometimes it's the equipment. Sometimes it's just it's not the right conditions. I always tell people also like I do a lot of refrigeration, but if the kitchen is too hot, if the AC is not working, like there's other variables that go into it. So if you can't figure it out, just be honest with the customer. I've always done that too.
Most techs, they don't really have the ability to provide honesty to
No, they just
you know.
disappear.
Yeah, they just, oh, I'm gonna get that part. I'll be back. Never came back. Never show up again. I've heard that before. That's
Oh
a
yeah,
classic old excuse. I'm gonna get something. I'll be back. They don't come back. They just left.
yeah, I've heard that so many times. And then like that guy that I said fixed it, he had worked on
It's
something else before that, and he went and bought like a whole bunch of parts, and one of them got the unit working, whatever it was. But even then, I still had to go back behind him because it wasn't at the right temperature.
it's still, I don't know. I feel like for me, when I do an install or when I do like a service call, I don't really I don't really get the courage or like the words to go to the client and be like, oh, this is what you owe me. Not until I see the thing up and running correctly, you know, because I feel like most techs, they take that way too. They just, as long as they see cold air or hot air coming out of the grill, they assume it's fixed, but they don't really check, the other
I've
stuff.
had that conversation because like another guy like I'll sit there, like I just had one the other day, like it was a reaching cooler. Like, I'll sit there till it cycles. I need to
So
know when it cuts out and when it cuts in. There you go.
okay,
Um,
okay,
and I need to know all that. I'll put my temperatures and everything, and I'll check it that way. Like that one that I just mentioned about the guy that put in a bunch of parts to it. I'm sure he just left as soon as it started cooling, because when I went for another call, it was only maintaining 10 to 15 degrees or 18 degrees, and it was a freezer, right? So then they had me
okay.
check it, and I had to adjust the valve and stuff. I didn't have the right superheat, and just minor things. I moved some stuff around, the sensing bulb and all that. Minor things, right? And then I was like, let me make sure it drops down, and it dropped down like 5 degrees. They have issues with the door and stuff, so I can't guarantee that it's going to be 0 or under. But we got it down to 5 degrees. I'm like, this is good enough. Get the door fixed, and then I'll check it again. But yeah, some guys
Well,
just, as soon as they put in a part or whatever, they just bill and leave.
one of the concepts that I've learned, it's in HVAC most likely, is that whenever something fails, it's either contact or compressor, or TXB valve, a reverse valve, an EV, whatever fails, it fails for a reason. And
Okay.
most of the times, it's because another part made it broke. You know, so there, it's just the feeling that you need to make sure everything is fine.
Yeah, you can't
No,
just
but
change parts, because like
yeah,
I've had
no,
that, like if contactor burns out or a wire burns out, like I'm gonna replace it, but I'm gonna go down the line and make sure we don't have anything else, like a motor that's going out, bad bearings on a blower motor, like anything, rub outs, any of that stuff.
for those who still wonder if this is a good industry or not, as long as you develop passion, love, and understanding to it, you can make a living out of this thing. I know guys that they make it out as company, and it even gives them the chance to increase. So they don't only do HVAC, they do plumbing, they do refrigeration. Their business increases. So there is a chance, there is a door. All you have to do is find it, knock on it, and see if they let you in. You know.
And I mean, finding a good company is also a good part, because a lot of people
Mm.
complain about it. And I'm like, you probably are just at the wrong company, honestly. So when you get in the trade, learn what you can and find a good company.
Let me just mention this real quick now. It popped in my head. The guy that teach me back in time how to do startups, he said sometimes you don't need a vacuum. You just open the valves and it still works. And I bought that. I thought that was true. I was like, really? So why do guys do vacuum? And he's like, they want to call the attention, bringing up the heavy thing to the roof. I'm like, if you say so. For like 6 months, I believed the wrong thing, and then someone stopped me and be like, you can do that. Like it's illegal.
See,
And
see, that's the only thing I'll say is, like, going to school, I knew what was right and wrong, right? So like I had that advantage, because I rode with guys that did the same exact thing. They didn't have a vacuum pump. They didn't have a, and even if they did, they didn't have a micron gauge. Some of them, right? They're just like, oh, we're just gonna leave it on for 30 minutes or whatever. didn't purge with nitrogen, like all these little things. And
Mhm.
just you can try and say something, but they're, you're just the helper, so you got to go with what they're doing. Or even recovering. I had a guy famously recover with this little bucket of water everywhere, and I'm like, dude, I can't, I don't
Well,
want to do
that's an
this.
old trick.
I was like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be up here with you. But I mean, what can you do as a helper? So like, I knew what was wrong. I just try not to get in trouble for myself, right? Because then they're gonna give you shit about it. But you gotta, as long as you know what's right and wrong, and then like you make the effort, you do. Like every time I had my own call, I did everything. I had my recovery machine, I had everything I needed, and I did it my way. And it probably took me longer than the techs that I was with, but like I did it the right way. We've been
Oof.
here over an hour. I don't want to keep you too long,
Oh
man.
my,
I like I said, this goes by really quick.
it is.
I
It does. It
appreciate
does.
you stopping by, being on the show, and kind of telling us what you have going on. The whole, getting in young, starting your own business, teaching. That's all cool. And
Thanks.
thanks, man.
Yeah, man, it was an honor being here. Like I said, it's always the fact that you gotta not even just fight for dreams. If you can, help someone out, projecting up, and be like, hey, in this case, what you need is people willing to speak, to move on with the project and everything. So I was more than glad to help out and be like, because I support the industry in every single angle. Believe me, I just love it. I made my living out of it. I made myself a man out of it. So I
Mm-hmm.
truly respect those who spend their time, just putting the trade on the map. Because I truly believe eventually trades are gonna become a thing in the future. Are gonna become a thing.
Trying to, yeah, trying to make it for everybody. Like everybody needs to get in on this and make it better. So, uh, yeah.
Wow.
Thanks again, man. Everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, man. Thanks again. Yeah, you have a great day, man. All right.